In today's news, police have arrested the world tongue twister champion. They say he will be given a tough sentence. There we go.
There's the fun.
Nope.
Yes.
Nah.
Yeah. Welcome back, listeners, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Weekend from A to Z. This is episode number 138, and it covers the weekend up to March the 8th, 2021. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us at theweekenda2z@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facegram and Instant Book at A to Z Weekend. Past that, anchor.fm/A to Z Weekend, where you will find all 11 locations for our podcast.
I'm Scott.
What up, guys? I'm Justin. I'm JT.
I'm Alan. Jeez.
This is
Alan,
my first
what
time.
mic
Mic are you using?
Apparently, we're stepping all over each other today. Using this one, the blue mic.
Is it? It doesn't sound the same. Like it. It doesn't sound like your normal mic.
It's like far. It's not next to me.
It's all good. It's all good.
Is that better?
A little better, yeah.
A little better?
Give us that technological news.
Okay. In tech,
got?
DJI, the ubiquitous drone maker, has debuted their first-person drone. It retails for $1,300, $1,299. It has three modes: normal, sport, and manual mode. Sport mode goes up to 60 miles an hour. Manual mode goes up to 97 miles an hour. It'll go 0 to 60 in 2 seconds and allows for flips and rolls in manual mode. Sport mode, you can't do all that stuff.
Dude, your audio sucks. I hate to say it, but it sucks.
Oh my gosh.
Turn up your gain.
Is that better?
Way better.
Was the gain just too low? All right, maybe it was. Justin, is that better?
That's much better.
Okay.
You sound like you. You don't sound like you're in a well.
Oh, that's good.
Timmy's in a well. Timmy's in a well.
Yeah. Google promises to stop tracking your web traffic as soon as you replace your cookies, as it phases out browser cookies for ads.
Oh my god, I'm beat down by these browser.
Whoa.
Wait,
Whoa, that's that, sir.
That is not Google, sir.
That, sir.
That is
Freudian slip.
World famous. Yeah.
Yes. Browser cookies.
.com.
Every website I go to on the phone is just like, hey, can't go any further without accepting this.
I know, and it's like, can we just get rid of the I know every single website's going to ask, just do whatever you have to do. I'm just going to browse this for this one news story, and then I'm going to exit out the website, and I'll probably won't come back to it for at least a week.
What are they going to replace the cookies with?
No, well, so it's just the targeted ads. So if you go on,
So they're going to, okay, I got you. Not getting rid of cookies completely.
No,
It's not for ads.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So if you leave one website and open up another window or whatever, or go to a different website, those same ads aren't going to follow you to the next site. That's all. They're still going to collect a ton of data on you because it's Google.
That's where they make their money.
Anything you type into the Google search, well, guess what? That's now part of your history. Even if you wipe history off your computer, Google keeps all of it. There's some setting. I read another story today. There's some setting where some lady on TikTok apparently found this setting, and it's where you can go into and see what Google has collected on you. Some people have reported that's pretty accurate. Other people are like, it says I'm 46 years old and I'm 19.
Chastity belts. I didn't look up no chastity belts.
Penis cuffs. What?
That wasn't on this computer.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So I don't know, but we'll see. Research. So I saw this interesting story, and I thought it was pretty neat. Research shows that Earth's atmospheric oxygen will last for another billion years. A recent study was the one that actually found the answer to us. Using a numerical model of biochemistry and climate, scientists from Toho University reveal Earth's oxygen-rich atmosphere, its future lifespan. Knowing Earth's oxygen-rich atmosphere has great ramifications for the future of Earth's biosphere and the search for life on Earth-like planets beyond the solar system. The study reveals that in the future, lifespan of Earth's oxygen-rich atmosphere is approximately 1 billion years before rapid deoxygenation occurs, rendering the atmosphere reminiscent of early Earth around 2.5 billion years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to go back in time.
So screw you, global warming.
No, they're like this. I mean, so the article wasn't about climate change, and I don't really think they necessarily mentioned climate change in it. It was just like, hey, based off of what we know today about our atmosphere and how things are changing, about here, here's how long we estimate that it's going to last. I mean, we'll all be long gone by then because we're going to kill ourselves. It's going to be nuclear winter.
Smoke some coal.
Yeah.
Well, it was what's the other thing that they say in about 5 billion years the
sun will burn out.
Well, it's not going to burn out, but it will turn into a red giant, which will encompass
the inner
orbit of the Earth. Yeah,
maybe up to Mars.
Yeah,
it'll suck for all those kryptons out there.
And if it doesn't include Earth for some weird reason, it's going to be hot enough. It's going to blow away Earth's atmosphere, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're trying to find different planets to inhabit.
Well, that's a long time though. Also, in like 50 billion years or whatever the time frame was, the Milky Way galaxy will collide with the Andromeda galaxy.
Nice.
So it could possibly send our solar system spinning way off into who knows where.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who wants to live forever?
Or we'll get sucked into a massive black hole that are apparently just wandering all over the place.
I'd like that option.
Can you imagine, like, all of a sudden, like, I don't even, like, you wouldn't even be able to see it. I don't think. It would just be like you're here 1 second and then you're gone the next.
I wonder, how would we have when the outer edges of those two universes collide? We would be able to see that, right?
Oh yeah, you definitely. Yeah, I'm pointing. No, you'd definitely be able.
Yeah, I saw that on
Yeah,
the audio.
No, yeah, you would definitely be able to see, like, at nighttime the other stars and be like, oh, those are really close.
They're blowing up all over the place.
Well, that's really close.
Yeah,
too close.
No, but there was a while back, a long time back, I read an article about how there's just a bunch of wandering black holes, and like we don't know where they're at, and we could be swallowed up any second. And I was
it's just like the asteroids. Like last week, there was one that was like, I forget, but like
there's always
according to space, it's like really close to us, even though it's like millions of miles away or whatever.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, well, if you have these black holes, I mean, would we even know it's there, or is it just like all of a sudden we see like some kind of weird anomaly in the sky and then we're gone?
I'm way too sober for this conversation.
Okay. I hear you can find black holes on Harry Hines.
Is that also in your Braster search?
Yes, Wait. My Braster search.
I say some of the darkest.
Some of the dark.
All right. So Governor Abbott has ended statewide mask mandates. By now, you guys already know all this. Allowing Texas businesses to reopen at 100% capacity.
Man,
again, my argument is you don't have to remove masks to open up 100%.
No, I don't. Correct. I mean, I don't think so.
But this is
one or the other.
Yeah. To me, I think it's not. It feels like shirking responsibility. Now it's putting it on the business owners to dictate whether or not they're going to still require a mask. I mean, even with that being said, my employer sent out an email and was like, "Hey, even though this is going on, we're still going to require a mask if you're in the building. Like, no mistake, we're not lifting any bans. We're not lifting anything anytime soon." So they're kind of like, "Yeah, this is our rules. Deal with it. We want."
It's kind of like
not our rules, but my company's huge on safety.
Well, like,
so they want everybody to be safe.
The reasoning that Abbott has is like, "Hey, we've been wearing masks and we're getting vaccinated, and the numbers are coming down." Was like, that's the reason why we're having the numbers come down, is because everyone's practicing social distancing and wearing their masks. Now that we get rid of them, there's got to be a spike.
I mean, even the head of the one lady at the CDC, I don't remember her name, but even her, she was saying like, well, she was saying it's too soon and she doesn't think it's a good idea. But at the same time, she kind of leveled and, she was like, look, I know it sucks. Like everybody wants to get back to normal. I know this, but with all this being said, like, It's still not a good idea. Please continue to be safe, but hey.
Percentage of people that will keep wearing the masks.
My guess is probably going to be,
say, 25% or less.
Yeah, 25 to 30%, which is what it was before the mask mandate went in order. I would be surprised if it were more than that. Pleasantly surprised, I would say. And the issue that I have with this is the fact that there was no plan at all. All you have to do is give us goals. Make it goal oriented, make it goal centric. Texas, you're doing a good job. The numbers are coming down. All we have to do is these steps. In April, we will open up vaccinations for everybody, so everybody can get on the list. And in early to mid June, we will remove all mandates and everything. Do the same thing, but give it time for everyone to get vaccinated. Right now, there have been 7 million vaccinations given, but that's not fully those aren't people that are fully vaccinated yet. Those are people that have had at least one dose. So we're not where we need to be to do what we're doing. Also, I thought it was a bad idea to do this while you still have school in session. Why? Because of what happened with it. TEA came out and said, instead of TEA saying we are requiring masks and you're going to keep doing virtual learning just like we've done for the entirety of this year so far, or the options that you've given, they've said, no, it's up to each individual school district. So you're going to have one school district, and I'm making this up, but let's say you have one school district that's Grand Prairie. Mm-hmm. And Grand Prairie decides that they're going to stay in the current system. They're not going to upset the apple cart. And then next door to them, you have Arlington School District, and let's say Arlington says, nope, everybody gets to come back. And that's what they're a lot of school districts are debating now is, after spring break, do we force or do we start making everybody come to class? No. Because they've opened everything up completely. And again, Grand Prairie and Arlington aren't necessarily doing those things. I'm just using those as cities that are as examples, and that's the problem. And that, I think, is the problem, is because they're allowing for those things to happen. And
I believe that's a bad idea to bring all the kids back that were originally homeschooling. I mean, you're just disrupting their learning already as it is, and then you're going to throw another curveball. I don't think it's.
Well, and I think that's exactly what this is with what Abbott did. It's a curveball. Realize that 3 weeks ago we were in the snow and had no fucking power. And he's getting lambasted for the problems that his administration caused, because the Public Utility Commission that is under him, that's every single member of that board, is directly appointed by the governor, the sitting governor, and he screwed the pooch. Well, how do you get heat off yourself for doing that? Let's open up the borders. Let's open up the mask mandates are going away. We're opening up 100%. Fail to plan to fail. And that's what this is. It seems that it is. There was no plan. The last report, or one of the last things I saw, that 3 of the 4 doctors that were on his COVID-19 team were not consulted. 3 came out saying that they were not consulted, and the other one never came out and said anything. And they all said that the 3 that came out said that they believe it to be a bad idea. So it's a bad idea. I will continue to wear a mask wherever I go. I was wearing a mask before the mandate came out. I'll continue to wear a mask and move forward with it. Can I segue? Do you mind if I segue?
Sure, go for it.
So you and I talked about this. Let's see, did this. So there's a girl I went to high school with that I won't say her name, not because just because I don't want to say her name, because she's crazy.
Her name end with an I?
No, it does end with a vowel. Anyway, she posted um it was either Wednesday or Thursday. She posted something and it was talking about, hey, there's this person who is living in London who is Russian born, and they made this post, and it was like, we need to have, as tech, have perspective about the freedoms that we're being given, so on and so forth. And the post that this person living in London said is that they're so jealous of Americans right now they can actually move to a part of the country which better fits them. For all its faults, the U.S. is a unique country and a beacon of hope for the rest of the world. What I would give to live in Florida or Texas right now, because in the UK they are under strict lockdown, just like we were at the beginning of the pandemic. So it's people are getting fined for doing things they're not supposed to do under the lockdown rules and everything, and it's the entire country. So I posted on her thing and I said, hey, just realize this is coming from someone who's living in a country where the COVID numbers are 7 times less than that of the US. The grass may look greener, but it might not be.
Mm-hmm.
And she immediately responded with, it's not about the numbers. And it's like, well, no, it's about the numbers. That's kind of what we're doing. We're looking at the numbers and
how can you measure
how we're measuring these things. And then the next person posted that, because I didn't say anything, I said that you have to look at the numbers because, we have more cases here. So you may think it's freedom to come over here and not have to wear a mask or whatever, but the likelihood of you getting it, we're 7 times greater than in the UK. And the next person posted saying that the CDC numbers are a lie. This person put, the CDC numbers aren't real. If the CDC had counted mortality by the rules prior to the change in March of 2020, there would have been less than 10,000 deaths counted for COVID-19, blah, 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 blah. And so I said, do you have any articles from reputable sources that support your statement? Because I'd like to read them. And then I got people telling me that I need to do my due diligence and my own research. It'll open your eyes. It'll open your mind.
Which first tells me you don't even know.
And so, and to the person who was like, open your mind, I was like, dude, I asked for information. Since when does asking for information?
It is open.
I'm not
to
opening
receive information.
And of course, when I
input here,
when I called that person out on it, they were like, "Oh, I didn't mean to throw shade. No offense needed." And it was like, "Yeah, you did. That's exactly what it was." Anyway, my point is, on all of this stuff, you have the people who are going to continue to wear their masks and social distance and do these things, even though it's not mandated. And you're going to have the people who are going to go out and do whatever the hell they want. And the same people that are doing whatever the hell they want are the same people that are saying this disease is fake. The numbers are bullshit. Stop being such a sheep. And it's like,
this is not rigged. There is a such thing as Santa Claus.
It's one of those.
The earth is flat.
QAnon is alive and well, guys.
So it's just one of those. It was just one of those weird things where it was like, and I had several phone calls from people that I went to high school with and I'm still friends with, because this woman and I mean, we're Facebook friends now. I haven't seen her since I graduated.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the guys I was talking to about this stuff were like, what happened to her? And I was like, I don't know. Who knows what happened to this person? So it's just the same old rhetoric, but they feel like they've won, and we're not free. There's no such thing as freedom. We all have rules and laws that we live under, whether it is societal rules or actually rules that are enforced by the federal or state or local government. Wearing a mask was not infringing on your rights. It's trying to protect people from a disease that we didn't know much about when it started a year ago. So anyway, off of soapbox.
All good. So this last story, I just want to obviously because it's a hot item and I'm still seeing junk about it. So the whole Dr. Seuss thing, about it, the books being canceled, or quote unquote, people are saying it's cancel culture. The Dr. Seuss Enterprises, yes, that's actually what they're called. Dr. Seuss Enterprises were the ones that actually decided to come out and say, hey, we're not going to continue to print these 6 books we're not going to continue to print these 6 books because that's not who we are. There's still like over 60 Dr. Seuss books. It's just the ones in question are the ones that they're saying that aren't going to be printed because of racial and just cultural I don't know, shade, I guess is the best way to, just the depictions in it are not politically correct. And I know that people have a hard time with being politically correct. I myself, I do sometimes have a hard time with being politically correct, just because I'm used to my speech per se, my vernacular. When I grew up in the 80s, if you did something stupid, it was, you called it gay. It wasn't anything. It had nothing to do with homosexuality. Had nothing to do with that. But you did something stupid, it's like, that's gay. Or that person's a retard because, they did something dumb, which now, yeah, there's times when I still slip, but there's, at the same time, it's like, okay, well, I understand that is no longer it's, supposed to be used, however you want to put it. So I try my best not to. Going back to the whole Dr. Seuss thing. The books in question, there were 6 of them, and one of them was like, I think I saw it on Mulberry Street. A character was described as a Chinaman. Previously, he had lines for eyes and wore a pointed hat, carried chopsticks and a bowl of rice. Editions published in the 1970s changed the reference from Chinaman to Chinese man. And in the book, If I Ran a Zoo, 2 characters from the African island of Yurka are depicted as shirtless, shoeless, and resembling monkeys. Out of the over 60 books that Dr. Seuss Enterprises has posted, 222 million copies have been published worldwide, and it's been translated into 15 different languages. Me personally, I had no idea these 6 books existed. I really didn't. And so to me,
read a couple of those.
Oh, to me, from my standpoint, because I never knew these 6 books existed, when they're coming out and saying we're not going to print them anymore, I was like, oh, okay, doesn't bother me, because I never knew it existed. I have 2 of them here. One of them
happened on whatever street. If I Ran a Zoo, those are the 2 that I read, and I don't remember what the other ones are.
And to think I saw it on Mulberry Street, yeah. And If I Ran a Zoo. Those are the 2 that this article I read called out.
Yeah, those are the 2 that I read as a kid.
I don't recall reading them as a kid. Maybe we did. I don't know.
It's so many. I mean, they blur.
Yeah, but there's actually a lot of like Dr. Seuss books that I really like. But just to have these ones called out, and now some media outlets are running with it and saying Dr. Seuss is being canceled. I was like, he's not being canceled. There was no Karens, or what's the male version of Karen?
Chads.
Bob? Huh? Dave? Dads?
Chads.
Chads. Yeah. There was no Karens. There was no Chads coming out and being like, oh, but think of the children. There was nothing like that. I mean, it was the Dr. Seuss Enterprises that, came out and was like, hey, we're just not going to print these books anymore.
Well, this group of people actually did try to cancel Dr. Seuss back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Which group?
The group that is now saying that it's horrible what they're doing to Dr. Seuss, that side of the aisle. Mm-hmm. Theodore Geisel, who is the author, also known as Dr. Seuss, in the 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s, he also wrote erotica. Not under the moniker of Dr. Seuss, but he wrote it.
It'd be funny if it was.
And when it came out more widely in the 70s and 80s, that happened, that same group of people that is now touting Dr. Seuss tried to cancel him, because how could they let their children read something that was written by someone who wrote filth? Mm. It comes full circle. The people that are complaining about cancel culture are also the people that damn near perfected it in certain cases. in the late 1990s, the Southern Baptist Commission, the Southern Baptist Conference, that is at the time was 17.5 million strong, boycotted Disney because Disney decided that they were going to extend health benefits to domestic partners, not just husbands and or wives, but domestic partners. And the Southern Baptist Convention boycotted them. The Satanic Panic in the 1980s, when it was regarding Dungeons and Dragons. Man, it was, that stuff is from the devil. Can't play it, can't look at it, can't nothing, from the devil. Couldn't watch Bewitched, reruns of Bewitched, because it had magic. Couldn't watch the Smurfs for the same reason, because it had magic. Couldn't listen to Amy Grant because she put out a secular album. Can't listen to that music. They also have their own music. There's Christian music. Do you like rock and roll? We got Christian rock and roll. Do you like rap? We got Christian rap. It's funny because the things that they've done in the past, they just don't like it, that it's happening to them now.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember seeing somebody's Facebook post that was talking about that, and they had posted that they remember being told that you can't listen to Amy. Like, you know, this girl's parents told her, like, hey, you can't listen to this music anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, okay. So they were kind of like, yeah, we're not on board with all this, but whatever. Yeah, but that's really about it. That's all I got. There's a new OnePlus 9, I think the phone is out. Looks pretty cool. I'm most interested in the DJI drone. I've always wanted one. Just a drone, period. Not this one that's, you know, $1,200. I don't really. I'm not going to buy a $1,300 drone, but, you know, what do you do?
Let rich people have it. Let the rich people have it.
Well, I mean, I think it was touted as like the drone for racing people, like people that want to get into racing drones but not have to like build it themselves. Because if you've looked at any racing drone kits, you literally have to put the thing together.
Yeah,
it's not like other drones where you buy it and it's already, you slap the battery pack in and download an app and you're good to go.
Yeah,
but these things you got to like screw stuff in, you got to connect wires, and I thought about it and I was like, oh, I think it'd be cool to get into like a racing drone and just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of mess around with it, do some loop-de-loops, crash it a bunch because I'm sure that's what I would do. Mm-hmm. And then put it up in the shelf somewhere and probably not touch it again.
Oh yeah, that's exactly.
So I'm afraid of that. You know, I'm also afraid of like, so one of my friends that I found on like from high school on Facebook, he's been using his telescope and like taking pictures of like the Orion Nebula and, you know, the Andromeda Galaxy and like different constellations and star structures. And again, it's something that I look at and go, man, that's awesome. Like the pictures come out fairly decent. I don't know what kind of telescope he's using, but the pictures come out fairly decent. And it's like a sort of hobby that I'd like to get into, but then at the same time, it's like, I don't want to do this and spend, you know, a couple $100 on a decent telescope and then use it for like hardcore for like a week and then just go like, I'm just not going to break out the telescope again because it's too hot outside. It's too cold. There's bugs.
Mm-hmm. It was just like when we had Google Glass.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't last very long because a lot of people just didn't like it.
Yeah.
I'd wear it in public and people would like boo me.
Yeah. It was weird. At first, it was like everybody was like, oh, that's cool. Like, can I try it out? What does it show? And blah, blah. So, you know, I'd let people try it on and like, hey, check it out. This is what you see. And then
it was a 50-50 thing. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it seemed like overnight, I'd wear it out somewhere. And then one guy would be like, oh, it's one of those guys. And I'm like,
well, a lot of people were like, oh, what are you recording? Quit taking pictures of me. Like, who the hell are you?
Yeah. So I would walk into like an establishment. I just put it over the back of my neck. And, you know, that way it wouldn't really.
Yeah, but then like at the same time, people were using their phones to video all kinds of stupid shit. I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing, dude.
Yeah, watch me beat up this person. And I'm going to post it on Facebook. Oh, I got caught? What?
Yeah.
Anyways, World star. No, but well, the difference is I can take my phone and you can tell that I'm doing something with it. If I just have a camera in here, you don't know what I'm looking at. You don't know. I mean, I can be watching a YouTube how-to video as I'm walking down the street. I could also be recording what's happening around me. I mean,
like Scott said, brazzers.
Of course, Scott likes the brazzers. At least I know what he goes to now. You're muted. If you've muted yourself, Scott, so if you're talking, then no one can hear you. Yeah,
I guess that's my hard time with like hobbies, because like the racing drone sounds awesome. It really, really does. But at the same time, it's just like, I don't know how often we're actually going to use this thing.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think that you would do, like, if you did something with a telescope or something like that, I think that you would get more use out of it, because it's something that you can share. You can share that with your wife. That's something you could share with friends. That's something you could share with whatever. But it's like, modding your car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You put all of that money into your car and you do all of that stuff. And if you're not tracking your car, it's just to look cool.
What are you doing it for? Yeah.
It's just to look cool. And if you're tracking your car, then you have other enthusiasts that get it. But that's
actually a really good
analogy
is. Yeah. No, that's a really good analogy. Every now and then I fall back on the like, why am I doing this? Like, I like my car, but at the same time, like, I'm just like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And then there's times I'm like, yeah, no, I'm gonna do this thing next. It's gonna be great.
Well, our friend Josh put a lot of money into his car, did a lot of stuff to his car.
Mm-hmm.
Never took it to the track. No, took it to the track once.
Yeah.
And then, but didn't like that experience. But it's like, well, why are you putting all this stuff? I mean, I'm not saying like you have to get like a crappy car, but if you're literally just using it for transportation as your daily, why are you making it have the ability to go fast? There's no need for that. You're never going to drive it that fast. You're never going to push the car, past what you know how to do.
Right.
Thank you for that. That was help needed, because I want to do stuff to my car, but I will never use it.
Slap in the face.
I
thought you meant Josh, as in the one who had to buy a new engine for his car. That Josh.
No, not that Josh.
Oh, you're his idiot brother? No, different Josh.
Yeah. His race car.
Yeah, no, different Josh. But anyways, that was all my tech news. I'm trying to find this picture now. Anybody have anything else?
No.
We got 2 weeks until F1 picks back up, guys.
Woo!
Nice.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
You want to get get into weekends?
Wait a second. What
are you doing?
Yeah, weekends. Let's go.
Okay. I'll start off. Didn't do a whole lot this weekend. I did have over the last week, I had a brand new fence put in my backyard. Man, that shit is expensive.
I was gonna say, how many money did that cost?
Share it with your neighbor?
No, fuck no. 7,000 monies.
Oh,
7,000 monies. Why don't you just give them all of the monies?
That's a lot.
Yeah,
8-foot fence.
6 foot.
Oh my!
6
Couldn't even
foot
give you
fence.
the 2 inches.
How much
feet? But okay.
That's really impressive.
We're not here.
Well, I have a big backyard, so it was just under 250 linear feet.
250.
So
divided by 6 or 8, depending on how wide you have the posts.
Yeah. I think they're at 8. They're 8-foot posts. Anyway, it was what it was. I mean, listen, when I bought the house 7 years ago, I think the fence was somewhere between 10 and 15 years old. And at this point in time, it was, and they had used, some places had metal posts. Some places had wooden posts that they just put into the ground and didn't concrete in. And those had rotten, and there were parts of the fence. I mean, my fence looked like that fence going down the road. You know what I mean? We're like, what's wrong with that, dude? And the thing that was wrong with that, dude, is the fact that this shit cost $7,000.
Who wants to spend that? I got other things to do with that money.
Yeah, because that's like that or a really long weekend or 2 long weekends, maybe. You know?
That's a hell of a vacation. That's a week-long vacation.
A really long weekend. JT, what are you doing?
Oh, to do it yourself?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Never mind.
And they had it done in 2 days.
You know the 5-gallon drums of KY you can get on
Okay.
Oh my! I don't know that I've ever done that search on my Brazzle.
Brazzers.com.
Browsers.
Wow.
Browsers.
Scott's just stepping in it tonight. Don't let your wife listen to this episode.
Oh, she's right here listening to the conversation as we speak.
Oh, that's awesome. Good luck.
Yeah, check out that link I just sent.
No, but they sent they did cut my my internet, so that was fun on Wednesday for them to kill my internet connection and I had the guy who was running the crew. It was basically a 3-man crew, like a foreman and then the 2 guys that were actually doing stuff. And the foreman guy was probably late 20s, maybe 30 years old, maybe, and cut my internet. I go out and I talk to him like, dude, you guys cut my internet. And I said, the contract I signed said that you were going to call all major retailers, and they'll mark out the lines and stuff. Why did that not happen? And he was like, oh, well, yeah, we called him, but they must not have done that. I'm like, when did you call him? He was like, well, like a week ago. I'm like, how long does that normally take? And he was like, 2 weeks. And I was like, so you jumped the gun.
2 weeks. Usually business, we had to do it. And usually it's, you give them 48 hours notice and they should be out there in 48 hours.
So, well, of course, like after they did come, they came that day, but after they cut my fucking line. Do you know what I mean? He's like, they jumped the gun. He admitted they jumped the gun. So we were without internet for a while, and I had to, and it was one of those things where I had to, the cable and internet and stuff is in my wife's name because she set it up when we moved in, and I've never thought about it. So me trying to get through to AT&T to get them to hook the internet back up or report the outage, and they're like, and I understand they're doing their 2-factor authentication stuff and all of that, and it's great, but it's like, I'm not trying to get shit for free. I'm trying to tell you that this is broken.
I'm an existing customer, damn it.
For a decade. What do you do? What the hell's happening? And it was, and it was like, what's the 4-digit PIN? And I was like, oh, it's this. No, that's not it. What about this? No, that's not it. What about this? No, that's not it. Okay, sir, well, let's move on to the security questions. And it was, what was your favorite superhero as a child? What?
Like,
what?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even a guess for me. That's not like, what city were you born in? I know that from my wife. I know that, and it was just like, it was just this big ordeal. And I went outside. I had told the guy said that the foreman guy was like, oh, I'll call AT&T as well. I'll see if we can get our guys on it too. I'm like, okay. And like 20-30 minutes later, I'm on this phone call where I keep getting put on hold and trying to go back and forth with these jokers. And I see him out there unloading the truck. And I was like, and I walk out there, I'm like, did you get through to anybody? He was like, no, sir, it's probably best if you handle it on your end. And I ripped him a new one. I was like, you cut my internet. I said, I can't work. My son can't go to school. I can't make money to pay you. So I suggest you get on this while I'm on this as well, which was fine. I mean, he got on it. I got on it. We had somebody out there later that day to do it. He ended up giving me, I guess he had a Netgear router, and he let us have that for the rest of until we had internet back, which was very cool. But I mean, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy at all. They did, as far as the fence goes, fence looks great. It's just that inconvenient, and the fact that he admitted to me that they messed up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then it was like, and then he didn't do his due diligence to get stuff taken care of. Pissed me off. But that ordeal was over. Friday night, my son's Steam account got, I I can't say hacked, but he got scammed on his Steam account. So that was another ordeal that we had to go through. The rest of the weekend, I was with you guys testing stuff out for the event we're doing this coming weekend. And then on Sunday, we just chilled, didn't do much of anything, just took it easy.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, that was my weekend.
Right on. Let's see. My weekend, Friday, was just work. We have this big project coming up. We have a release next weekend for real-time support, which allows agents to call in and actually schedule their absences. So we did UAT on Friday with the business, and they gave us their approval, which was great because it's been one ordeal after another with that project, actually. So it's good that it's actually finished. I'm happy about that. Other than that, on Friday, I don't think we did a whole lot else. Trying to think. No, I don't think we did a whole lot else on Friday. We watched more 60 Days In, which is crazy. Saturday morning, Scott and I had the podcast with Gary Gregory. We talked to him about his new book, The Super Fantastic Process. And we had a great conversation. It was great. It was a great podcast. I mean, we recorded 57 minutes, Scott? And
yes.
And we try to cap it at like 45, just to, we understand nobody wants, very few people want to sit down for a 3-hour podcast.
Right.
To listen to it. So yeah, we try to cap it at like 45 minutes, but we end up going you call it an hour. So we'll definitely have Gary back on to talk about his other book. And other than that, Saturday, came back home, spent some time with the family here. And then we met up at Venture X in Frisco to hook up all the cameras and the equipment for the live stream we're going to do at the Underground Cigar Bar.
Underground Cigars.
Yeah, is there a calendar invite or anything for
that? Scott is the man to talk to.
I have been, I don't know. I'm a little stressed when it comes to this event. It's it's the first one, right? So yeah. Anyway, there is not a calendar event. I think that you have to purchase tickets to come in and do that thing, and I could use another mic man if you want to join us. Not you, the audience, but you, JT.
You're in, JT.
Wait, I thought I was already in. What?
This is not for the weekend. This is something else.
Yeah. So for our listeners, Scotty has ventured out and is trying to he's starting his own kind of a production company as far as hosting like streaming events and things like that. So he has he's putting in his own money to do this stuff. He knows the guy that is hosting the event, and he was like, yeah, let me see how I can help you with this and make it look cool. So Scott asked me if I would be the MC for the thing. Alan's helping out with the technical stuff. It's nothing to do with the weekend from the weekend A to Z. It's something that we're helping Scott with, but it's taking up a little bit of our time with the on our weekends for the past couple of weekends. So yeah, but
I'm down. Just let me know.
Yeah, but JT, if you want to come, that's
I'll send you the info.
I mean, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes, even though I haven't myself to tell you yes.
Actually, we talked about this on the last one, I believe.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Mm-hmm. We just did,
But so that was a lot of Saturday. Then after that, after we finally successfully hooked up the cameras and figured all that stuff out, figured out the live streaming portion of it. I know Scott has some extra details to go over as far as that goes, so that we can actually live stream to their specific page. But I think it's safe to say that we have everything figured out. Yes. Again, it'll be another story once game time actually hits. But so we've got that in the pipeline. After that, I had a work thing to go to. So the work thing was just my boss emailed or texted a bunch of us on our team and was like, hey, we've been working crazy for the last 2 months. Why don't we meet up for happy hour? So we met up at a Shark Bar off of 121 in Parkwood.
Did you get the things?
No, we didn't, because the guy there was immediately telling us, not that it was his fault. We didn't know it was also fight night and the Dallas Stars game back to back. So he was telling us like, hey, by 7 o'clock, all the seats in here are reserved. So he's like, you guys will have to find somewhere else to go, unfortunately. So we were only there for maybe 30, 45 minutes, and then we left. They continue to go down to Lava Cantina, but Shannon was going to hang out with some ladies that night. So I came home, spent time with little guy. She got to have some girl time with her ladies, doing some wedding stuff and wedding planning, because we have our ceremony coming up in May.
Oh, did you get my invitation back yet?
Dang it.
I know you asked a couple weeks ago, and I sent it a couple weeks ago.
I think she got the mail earlier. It's not in the mail.
I got mine here.
Not yet.
Yeah, I need to hand it to you.
Yeah, just drop it in the mail.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
you
got a
can
stamp
just-
on there.
You go out to the mailbox, and that little flag that tells the mail person, hey, come pick this up.
Well, see, in my neighborhood, we have the shared mailboxes, and there's no outgoing slot.
There isn't? Really?
No, yeah. It's...
My apartment has an outgoing slot.
I know, right?
Oh, that's
Dumb.
weird.
Say slot again. That's fun.
Slot.
Okay. Brazzers.com. So
Salami in the salad.
So Sunday, we watched church online. Yeah, we just watched church online Sunday. And then after that, we dropped little guy off. Or after that, we went out to the wedding venue to go get some measurements of the pillars there, as well as trying to figure out the measurements of the tables, what they're made out of, how big the tables are, all that stuff. So we got all that stuff done, got some pictures as well, extra pictures as well. Then we went to my parents' house around, 2 in the afternoon, to go drop off little guy and hang out with my parents there. So we hung out there actually at 4 o'clock. We hung out there until about 8:30 or so. His school is closed for this week because spring break. So we're leaving him there because I can't work with him here, and Shannon can't take him to work because she will also not get any work done. But yeah, other than that, I got a weird email from one of my bank accounts, and it was like,
Did
hey,
you win $7 million?
No, I didn't win $7 million. They texted me to tell me that somebody had tried to access my account one too many times, and my account was locked. So I was like, oh, well, I mean,
That was me.
If they got, well, so from my standpoint, I was like, well, if they got into the account, there's like $20 in there, like $13.50. So I was like, there's nothing in there. So, but yeah, still. So I went and changed the password. It's been weird. I've been getting like a bunch of weird phone calls, some text messages like, hey, you just won a PlayStation 5. Go to this website. And I'm like, really? Like, who falls for this stuff? But whatever.
Yeah, I've gotten in the habit of, if I get a text message or an email, I go right to the source. Yeah, hopefully my kids are smart enough to do that too.
What do you mean go right to the source?
Like if, hey, someone tried to get into your
your
Amazon account, click here. Okay.
Well,
if they
yeah.
got into it, then that should be over on the other side.
I never follow those clicks, man. Those are always just death
No.
traps.
So I didn't. So mine, it actually did come from my bank because I looked at the web address and all
Gotcha.
that stuff, and it was like, okay, well, this did come from my bank. So, and then when I tried to log in through my app, it did say, hey, your account's been locked. So I was like, okay, this is legit. But still, I was like, there's $13 in there. Okay.
You want that? Okay.
I mean, I'm going to be upset, yes, but at the same time,
Stay
it's
on
like,
the phone for 2 minutes. That's all.
It's
we
Still
have.
accruing.
the account doesn't get they because I don't have a certain balance or a certain number of transactions, they take out like $5 like every month. So I got to like move money. I got to like move $5.
Yeah,
to
mine did the
my
same
account,
thing.
and
Is
then-
like I have to automatically transfer at least $25 a month from my savings to my checking for it to stay quote unquote
Yeah.
free.
yeah. So I'm like, really?
I'm like, all right, $25.
I've had the bank for a long time. Yeah. But anyway, so that was our weekend.
Okay, I guess I'll go. I didn't really do much, just some stuff around the house. Had to fix some stuff. I try to go to the gym, but it's way too busy for me personally. Like,
Because everybody's in there again.
yeah,
Everybody's there.
like Anytime Fitness isn't that big, but with it
Fitness in
being
my mouth.
more than 50%,
Brazzers. Okay.
and then same thing at Texas Family Fitness. I drove by, I was like, the whole parking lot's packed. I'm like, damn, it's not.
Oh yeah.
I tell you what, I go to Texas Family Fitness, and it's hard to find a parking spot. I'm like, guys, What do y'all? And I even go like 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been trying to find different times all day. It's always just packed.
Yeah, I went at like 9 o'clock at night. I was like, I figured it'd be
Like,
kind
don't
of
y'all have a job? 9 o'clock? Oh, it's time to go out at 9 though.
My job is lifting weights.
Right. Gotta get swole. Did some stuff around the house. I made some fried rice. Had to get rid of some stuff out of it's to me, it's like one of those Velcro. It's called, like a lot of people call it Velcro stuff, where it's a bunch of stuff you can take and put together. So I just found a lot of stuff in the fridge and just threw it all together and made fried rice because most of the stuff was starting to go bad. Yeah, that was about it. Didn't really do much this weekend other than hang out. Oh, I finished finally Star Wars Rebels.
Okay.
Which I guess I should have watched Clone Wars first.
Yeah.
Because it alludes to a lot of stuff and characters. So I'm going to start that one next. I finished one of my audiobooks, which is okay. A friend recommended it, and it's a series, and I'm not going to continue with the series. It was just kind of frustrating. What was it? It was called The Pillars of the Earth. It was the very first book in the series, and it's one of those things where like it follows his family, from childhood of one kid all the way through his adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's always these people. It was kind of formulaic, kind of like in The Mandalorian, where hey, things are going good. Okay, things are so good now. Oh, something bad has to happen, and like it'd be the same kind of thing over and over. And I'm like, God, I'm tired of this. It's like, and it was during medieval times. It's like, why not just kill this motherfucker, So
okay, that answers my question. I thought it was going to be a sci-fi book.
No, and then I started listening to Jimmy O Yang's book, and it's all right. I mean, because I've listened to a lot of his stand-up. A lot of his stand-up comes from the book is a biography, basically. So a lot of his material comes from his life experiences. So it's okay.
Okay. All right, cool. Closing remarks for weekends, gentlemen.
Did Scott go? Scott went?
I did not.
Oh, yeah, Scott.
Yeah,
my
dude.
bad.
Just leave me on the cold.
Dang it.
Bad guy.
Fail.
No, I think you know what I did all weekend, so wasn't any point in going through it. Yeah, I spent a bunch of time at Venture X this weekend, just working with you guys on Saturday, getting everything lined up, making sure everything worked, and I think we're good there. Now it was just me doing overlays and working on that and trying to find. I've got everything that I want to do on the, where'd he go? Anyway, so just now I'm trying to fancy up the overlays, make them maybe moving, do some fancy stuff, but that's about it.
Okay.
That's all I've been doing. I'll be thankful for the weekend after this coming up weekend so that I can just chill for one weekend, and then we're right back at it with scheduling podcasts and guests on for the next season 2 of Mighty Anvil.
The Mighty Anvil.
Ding.
Yeah, I have some feedback, but we can talk about that during the break.
Okay.
Cool. Oh, happy International Women's Day, by the way, which will be a week too late by the time people hear this.
Sexy.
We love the ladies.
That's sexy.
Right.
Yeah.
That was.
I don't think that's what they mean for.
It's
No?
it's really not. It was just
Yeah.
a bad joke.
I know.
Did something come up
Was
on
that
browsers
casual?
this week? Is that
Oh
what
my
it was?
gosh.
Oh,
All right,
See,
we'll
okay,
be back.
now we just had fun there, but that was at someone's expense. So I'm a little lost.
That's casual sexism right there.
Yes. So I don't know. It's not. Look, we know each other, who our hearts are. I don't know. I just think it's. I don't know.
it's one of those things. Listen, if it's obviously a joke, it's obvious, and it's.
Yeah.
Can it be in poor taste? Of course, it can be in poor taste.
Most of mine are.
That's fine. Poor taste is fine. It's when it's blatantly done to hurt somebody that there's a problem.
Yep.
That's the litmus test. Did you do it to hurt somebody? Then you're a dick.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can you
so
say it in
why
church?
Does that not? And, y'all kind of know where I'm at with all this, but why does that not apply to like stuff with Dr. Seuss? It wasn't intended to get hurt, and it was where America was at the time. I mean, you can't erase history.
Well, that's what we're saying. At the time, it was like that, but now we've moved on.
And
I will say this.
understand they're not
I will say this about the Dr. Seuss thing. If that, at the end of the day, if that's the only thing you have to be mad at, to be not mad, to be upset about, your life is pretty good the way I see it. It doesn't stop you from reading any of the Dr. Seuss books. When they changed Uncle Ben's rice and Aunt Jemima's syrup and the Land O'Lakes, you can still go out and get the same stuff. The formulas didn't change. It still cooks the same, still tastes the same. So to me, there's really not, and maybe this is my opinion, but to me, there's really not anything to be upset about. I could understand if it was like a group of people who were like, oh, we'll burn Dr. Seuss Enterprises down because of this thing. But I mean, like I said, in that case, that's not what happened. I mean, it was like Dr. Seuss, they've been going and looking at all their books and going like, hey, do we still need to print these? And they decided not to. I mean, it's like the Atlanta Braves. They're like, hey, we talked to the Indian Nation about our name. We're not changing it because we've talked to them and they're cool with it. Jeep Grand Cherokee, on the other hand, they're like the I think it's the Sioux Indians. They're like
the Cherokee Indians.
It's my bad. I'm thinking I'm
literally Cherokee.
That was way too obvious.
All right.
I'm just.
I don't know.
I didn't know where he was
Sioux
going
Indians
with that. I'm like, oh, I got to see where this ends.
But so Jeep Grand Cherokee, the Cherokee Indians. The Cherokee Indian Nation has actually come back and been like, hey, we kind of want you guys to change the name. And Jeep has been like, well, it's been the name for like, I don't know, 20, 30, however many years this Grand Cherokee has been out. And they're like, it's been the name. We're not planning to change it. And it's at the time, like back in the day.
What's really funny is that people, anyone that owns a Jeep, and I have several friends that own Jeeps, and I wanted to buy a Jeep for a long time. They don't call them, like those that are enthusiasts, they don't call them by the model name.
No,
just straight up Jeeps.
It's a Jeep. No, it's a YJ or it's a TJ, and the the model,
the chassis code,
the model for the Cherokee before, from 2001 and prior was the XJ. Everybody, that's what it is. Just like with Subarus, it's not. Do you have a WRX? Okay, well, if you're talking to other Subi enthusiasts, I have an FA. I have an FA20. Or do you have an EJ?
Yeah.
Do you have an EJ24 or an FA20 or this or that? That's the thing that gets me on this stuff, is that the people that are really enthusiastic about this stuff don't call it by the model name. Yeah.
So
I mean, a rose by any other name would still smell like a rose.
Would smell as sweet. Why are we going Shakespeare?
Yeah.
I mean, to kind of elaborate a little bit, if you leave it out there, to me, it feels like we're saying it's okay to continue having this.
The casual racism.
I would say, okay, it's casual racism. JT,
but that's not intended to hurt anybody.
Well, I would. So what I would suggest is let's pick this up. Let's go to the break, and we pick it up after the break. It's a good time to pause.
I was going to say it's going to get deep.
Yeah. So let's take a break and we'll come back and get deep with it.
Okay. I like this joke. It's going to keep coming back.
Are we going to get... I don't know if we want to get sponsored by them, but I don't think so. Money is money, right?
Money is money.
Yeah. All right.
Hello, Justin.
And we're back.
There we go.
All right, JT, you we were talking about casual racism. You had text in our group text thread. You had said that,
hey, remind me about a voicemail.
Yeah, you're like, remind me about a voicemail.
So like, my boss is, I guess, pretty proud of this, and he's like walking around, and I can hear him going from office to office, and I can hear people kind of chuckling, and he comes into my office and he goes, "Okay, if you laugh at this, you're gonna be racist," and I'm like, "All right." And you know how I am when we're on my coworkers, since they're older, I'm just kind of like, whatever, I just let it slide because, Scott, like you're saying, like back in the day, they were so used to it that it's just ingrained in them now, and they just kind of say it like it's whatever. It's so easy for them. So he plays this, I don't know if it was a real voicemail, but it was basically like, it goes, the gist of it was, "Hey, bro, sorry I missed you, but I'm in New York right now, and I just got the Chinese vaccine, and, I seem to be okay, but, if you want to hang out, maybe we can go and try some new food, and, I'll let you know if anything is okay." And I'm like, really? That's the funny voicemail? It's like, because the guy got the Chinese vaccine, all of a sudden he's turning into a Chinese stereotype?
Oh, I didn't even get it.
Yeah. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I could just kind of just chuckled and shook my head. I'm like, what else am I supposed to say to that? You know, I mean, I guess
is he your direct boss?
it's the owner.
Oh, well, what I would have said is you can take him to human resources.
Yeah.
But you can't if it's the owner.
And again, like
that's the thing that's fucked up.
And it's like, I mean, I guess it's humorous to some people, but to me, I'm like, whatever, you know. I mean, he'll never listen to this, but again, he's dated Asian women. His son is half Asian because he's white, you know. And again, part of the times that's probably was okay, but nowadays it's just kind of like, it's not that everybody's super sensitive. It's just that I guess everybody just wants to be treated equal.
Well, I think a lot of I agree with you, but I also think a lot of it is the time and place you can do stuff like that. If I go to a comedy club and somebody up there, you know, a comedian is telling a joke, that's fine. If you're at my work and you're going to say something like that, I don't have an escape route. What am I supposed to do? I don't have a choice whether I hear that information or not. I don't have a choice whether I get to partake in it. And that, I think, that's the issue, is that there's not when I have, you know, he came into your office as your boss, as the owner of the company, and played this for you, and you're an Asian American, and what do you get to do? What do you get to do? You just get to sit there. And that's the part that's screwed up, is that it is, one, that he thought it was okay to do, and two, you didn't have a choice to say, you know, to even be a part of it or not. It was something that was brought to you. So I think that's a big part, is that the equality that we're searching for, it's not necessary. Here's the thing. I don't care. Your feelings don't have to change. No one is stopping you from feeling anything. What we're stopping is the way that you express it in public places. You can't do this stuff where I can't get away from you. If I have a boundary and you violate that boundary, there's nothing I can do about it. If it were when Alan and I worked together, if our boss's boss had come over and said something like that to us, I at least would have had the ability to go to human resources and say, man, this dude said something and it was really effed up. And they would have followed suit with whatever they needed to do, following human resources procedures. But it didn't stop the fact that I didn't have a way out of it, because my boss was standing there. My boss's boss is standing there talking to me, telling me this racist joke. Mm-hmm. So that's the part. All I want is for people to be treated fairly and equally. I'm not trying to screw up anybody's humor, but those people everybody gets the ability to decide what humor they want to hear and where they want to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, my boss is awesome, you know, obviously, because I've been there for like 4 going on 5 years, you know. Mm-hmm. It's just that every once in a while, you know, some people find things funny that you may not find funny, you know.
Well, yeah, no, and it's where you share it. Yeah. You didn't. I mean, it's not like he was like, "Hey, JT, let's go to lunch. Hey, here's this funny thing," and you get to deal with it in that manner. It's the fact that he went to he sought you out.
I mean, okay, on the flip side, sort of, is it my fault for allowing this to happen?
For being Asian?
Because he thought it was that I would think it's funny too.
I wouldn't say it. I mean, to me, I don't think it's your fault. I did think that maybe he thinks he knows your sense of humor. Because like
I haven't really when these things happen in the office, because obviously I'll be the first to make some racist joke, whatever, right? But hopefully I feel that it's not in good taste, but if everyone in the same group, you know, we have the same kind of humor, then I will say something like that, you know. But when they say stuff, you know, certain things that I feel sometimes could be okay, it's maybe funny, but then if it continues, it's kind of like it's in bad taste at this point, because it was in the same line as when I think it was a few years back when there was the plane crash, and it was a Chinese plane, passenger plane, and the news reporters, they were basically like, oh, the captain, his name was Something Wong, and they're just a pun on the names, but obviously they were in very poor taste because they were just making fun of them. And I'm like, this is a national news broadcast, and you're making fun of another race. This is
Hey, I got a question.
not very funny.
Do other cultures have those kind of jokes about other cultures? Is it just United States, or is it worldwide?
No, I believe it's worldwide.
I believe it's worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of humor is not something that is exclusive to the United States.
It's human nature.
What is exclusive to the United States is the fact that we are attempting to set boundaries so that if you don't want to listen to it or want to take part in it, you don't have to. I mean, let's take a different stab at it. Let's take issues that happened in the workplace to women in the 60s and 70s. Man, if you're a working woman in the 60s and 70s, it was 80s. I mean, it was bosses could have a field day with whatever they said and however they said it.
Like a firm hand on the rear end.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. Well, you can't do that anymore because now you can get sued. Well, it's just stopping a behavior in a certain space. You know what I mean? Because it's not again, when you're at work or you're in a place like that, you don't have an escape route. There's not something that you can do to stop it from happening. If I go out and I'm at a bar and I overhear somebody who's not part of my group say something, I can ignore it because they're not part of my group, as long as it, depending on what it is. If someone in my group were to say something like that, I'd be like, man, that was effed up. Why? That's not funny. Or, or that was like, if I've watched guys like pinch a waitress on the butt and the waitress turn around and slap him, and there are now 4 or 5 dudes all over that guy about to kick his ass because he just assaulted somebody. That stuff that you can't do anymore. That stuff that, when that girl went to, when that waitress went to work that day, she didn't go that she went there to make money, not to get harassed. When you went to work today, JT, you went there not to do your job, not to have that kind of racist humor thrown in your face by someone that you can't necessarily do anything about. Yeah. And that's the part that's messed up.
And like I said, I was like, I don't know if part of it is me allowing it to continue, just because. I mean, it doesn't bother me too much. I just feel like, what if it happens to other people?
Well, here's the thing
that it does really bother.
You're okay. So in this scenario, you're the victim, and I'm not saying you are a victim, but in this scenario, there's the person who did the act, and there's the person that you were that had to sit there and deal with it. All we want to do as human beings, all we want to do is be part of a group, right? All we want to do is assimilate into that group, whether it is a church group or a friend group or the people that you work with and so on and so forth. And when someone in a leadership position makes a joke like that, it's not your fault. Do you know what I mean? It's not your fault that you didn't allow something to happen to you. It's, you had to deal with it. Now, you personally have to ask yourself, is this something that I want to continue to happen? In your situation, I don't know how that works. I know in a multinational company, you can go to human resources and report whomever it is. I don't know how that works in your industry if this is the owner of the company. And I don't, the owner of the company, I mean, hell, dude, I don't know how old he is. I'm going to assume he's in his 70s. You're trying to keep your job. I mean, this is what it is. It puts you in a weird position because even if you wanted to say something, what happens if you do say something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know, because like actually right now, a little concerned that we may need to edit this a little bit, but I mean, It was just something that happened in poor taste.
Oh yeah, and I can't excuse the poor taste. I mean, here's number one. It was just a bad joke. It's not even a funny joke. It's not even fun. It wasn't even funny. It was a dumb joke. But anything else other than that, it's like, I don't think you should feel bad that you have contributed to doing something. I think the part that sucks is if you weren't okay with it, and I'm not saying you are or you aren't, if you're not okay with it, you don't have a lot of recourse. And that's the part that's messed up, is that you don't have, other than going to him and saying, hey, I really didn't appreciate that joke. I wish you wouldn't tell it again.
Yeah. I mean, if I had a heart to heart with him, I know he would earnestly change, and again, I don't want to change him because that's just his personality, who he is. It's just that it was a bad joke.
Well, and the thing that sucks is, let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit. Let's say you did have the heart to heart and he wasn't the type of person that would want to earnestly change. Well, it's his company and he could
he can make it hard for you. Yeah.
And that's
where
the thing
he makes you quit.
Yeah. And that's the thing that sucks, is that it puts you in an imposition, because you're allowed to not like stuff and you're allowed to not be a part. You don't have to be drug into those things. It's just how do we deal with those things? I mean, if it were a woman and they told a sexist joke about like a woman that's sleeping her way to the top or whatever, is she supposed to laugh at that? Or is she what are you allowed to do in that moment? How do you move forward or move through that stuff? That's the part that that's where it gets really fucked up and really muddled, because we don't have answers to those questions.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I hate racism.
I hate Alan, but it's not because he's black. I just don't like Alan.
No, it's yeah. I mean, JT, your situation is definitely tough.
I mean, again, it's whatever to me. But
I mean, you bring up a good point, because it's like, well, what if somebody else, has to be subjected to that, and they actually do draw offense?
Yeah.
And I mean, like with every corporate job I've had, I mean, we all have, I hate to call it sensitivity training, but we all have those trainings where it's like, even if you tell a joke to, a friend and your friend finds it funny, but somebody else finds it offensive, then you can go to the HR for that. You can get called into HR for that.
Oh, yeah. And those are the things that are weird. Just because you overheard something, that you were offended by, does that, it's a very strange, I mean, it's a weird world that we live in. And I'm not saying that we all need to be fucking robots and shit, but we have to, know when, if my boundary was crossed, I need to know that I have the ability to say or do something.
Yeah.
And if I were in JT's position, because I've worked for, privately owned companies, and I've had bosses that were older and completely out of touch with stuff. I mean, not to talk about to change it from a race thing to a whatever. I worked at a company, and it was, I don't know, there were maybe a total of 10 people that worked there, and the boss during the wintertime would keep the thermostat at 66 because he wanted to save money. It was cold. It's cold in there. And then we would have these conversations about, it was cold, and people had electric blankets that they were putting over their laps, or they were running, they would bring in space heaters, and he would complain about the space heater because it's costing electricity. And it was like, well, if you turn the, it's like, when does it fall on deaf ears? And people, I mean, it became a heated debate in the office about what it was, where he started going from office to office asking people the temperature that they kept their home at. It was like, well, what do you keep it at your home? And I said, well, at home I keep it at 68, but at home I'm under blankets and stuff because I'm trying to save money. I'm not in my office trying to do work.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a different situation, but there are people out there who are just blind to what's happening. And they're not trying to be blind to what's happening. They just are.
Yeah. And again, like, I don't want anyone to get in trouble because, again, he's never said or done anything maliciously
No.
to me. It's just one bad situation.
Yeah,
you know?
you didn't.
I love where I work. I love hanging out with him, and we do lunch, we play golf, stuff like that. So it's like, it's a great place to be. Just,
Oh no, yeah, no, totally. And again, this is one of those things like we're seeing in the context of this conversation. We are taking one example and kind of expanding it and magnifying it, and taking it to the end. Yeah. That's not your day-to-day interaction with this guy. It's not like he's not coming into you with, and taking his fingers next to his eyelids and pulling them back, making racist faces, or talking to you in a horrible Asian accent or something.
Yeah.
Just because he can. This is an incident that we are examining and drawing out.
Yeah,
that's all this is. It's
then like
an example,
using it for other people too. I mean, it's just it doesn't. This is kind of how I was feeling about the whole Dr. Seuss thing. You leave that stuff out there, and then other people see it, and it's like, oh, it's okay because it's in a book. It's in the children's book, and that's okay.
It's in a children's book. It's been out for how many years? Nobody's complained about it. Yeah.
Well, and it's we can do the same thing about the Native Americans in how they're portrayed in Peter Pan, or the crows in Dumbo, or whatever. Scott
or the WB frog.
Yeah, Scott.
Pepe Le Pew. Did y'all hear about that?
No,
he got cut from Space Jam 2.
Really?
Well, and in this case, the actress. So what happens was Pepe Le Pew, like, he does the arm kissing thing, and then she slaps him, and then I think the line was LeBron's like, you can't just touch a girl without her consent or whatever, and they cut that. When I was like, dang, that's actually pretty empowering to, for that scene. But Pepe Le Pew, I mean, that was basically,
that's all he did. He was chase the cat around, and
I mean, he was basically raping her,
it was
kissing her and all that stuff.
Well, he was
pulling a Cuomo.
Yeah. It's one of those things because he would that cartoon character was kissing this, the cat and all of this other stuff, and you could tell it in the cartoon. The cat did not like it and did not want it and was doing everything to get away, and he never stopped. And so
she was saying no.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hard no. And that's the thing is that I think it probably, I don't know what the scene actually would have consisted of, but if you're saying that's what it is, yeah, I think that would have been a great move. And to see Pepe Le Pew not do that anymore or whatever, but I don't know what else you're supposed to, I don't know what else you're supposed to do. All you can say is, yes, this stuff happened in history, and that's why it happened in a time where that was much more acceptable, but it's no longer, we as a society have decided that this is no longer acceptable.
So
we're moving away from it.
And I'm not trying to.
We're not getting. No, so let me finish your sentence for you. Yeah. Do we get rid of it? No, you don't get rid of it.
Do we get rid of not Pepe Le Pew, because we just said that yes, but Speedy Gonzalez.
Same thing.
Stereotype. Same thing about this. Well, actually, Speedy Gonzalez was the antithesis of that stereotype. His cousin Slowpoke Rodriguez was.
He had a cousin.
The stereotype. Yeah, Slowpoke, who spoke real slow and was always depicted like leaning against a house and had a very big sombrero that was down over his head.
Oh.
That was the stereotype. Speedy Gonzalez was the antithesis of the stereotype. He was a go-getter and move fast. But I mean, again, it's one of those things where, do we get rid of it? No, it's part of history. Do we need to make more Speedy Gonzalez cartoons? Not necessarily. If they did, I'm sure it would be under, I'm sure they would take all of this stuff into consideration. Warner Brothers, I think Warner Brothers is Looney Tunes, I think. Yep. So yes. I'm sure that Warner Brothers would take that into consideration before they decided to make more Speedy Gonzalez cartoons.
Yeah.
Does anything need to be done to these existing cartoons if they're not airing? No. Just like with Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry had the
Mammy Two Shoes.
the Mammy character, and they went 10 years ago or so. They went and they had someone re-record all of the lines that character said, but they just didn't put that horrible, accent to it. It's just a woman saying the words now.
And they've also redrawn her character 3 or 4 times now.
Well, I don't know if they ever showed her face or
legs,
not.
right?
No, they've never. I think
they did like
one
once.
time they showed her face, but that was like way back. But since then, it's always been like the legs, like from about waist down is all you ever get to see.
Yeah.
Well,
and
hey,
they've changed it from like a black lady to a white lady to somebody wearing
Brother
socks.
Rabbit? That was super racist too.
Who?
Brother Rabbit.
Brother Rabbit.
Yeah.
The Song of the South, wasn't it?
Song of the South. Brer Rabbit.
Well, there was a
Brer
cartoon.
Rabbit, Brer.
There was a cartoon, and he fights this piece of tar, but it looks like the depiction of a black person back in the day.
Baby.
Yeah, the tar baby. Yeah, that's Song of the South.
Oh,
that Song of the South, and that's something that they Disney actually never released that on VHS in the United States because they knew it was so bad.
but I remember I've seen it.
That's where you get the song. Yeah, that's where well, it's one of those things. I remember seeing it when I was a kid, but it was one of those where when I saw it as a kid, it was on a movie projector, like an actual reel-to-reel projector.
I remember those from like grade school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but this wasn't a grade. This wasn't at school.
Well,
This was.
yeah.
I mean, it could have been at school, but I don't think it was. But yeah, I mean, that's where you get the movie Song of the South. That's where you get the song Zippity Doo Dah from. That's where you get. I mean, again, it was very culturally insensitive. They decided 40 years ago that they're not going to release it on VHS and stuff within in the United States. And since then, I don't think it's ever been released. I want to say it was released on VHS in Europe in some countries, and then it never made it to DVD. And it never will. It's one of those things that it just kind of lives out there in the ether. It doesn't mean that we need to get rid of these things. I believe that a lot of them have historical significance, even if it is, this is what you don't do. But I don't think there's any reason for us to, continue with those ridiculous stereotypes.
I mean, I guess
in 2021, we don't need to do that anymore.
I guess on the racist issue is that, like in Germany, how they super lock down on anything that's remotely Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing. It's like they're not trying to erase it. They just don't want people to see it. Everyone knows what happened. They just don't want it to continue or for it to come back. I don't know. I mean, that's just my thought on Rabbit.
It's crazy. The Brer Rabbit thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, there's a book.
So we would have talked about WandaVision at this point in time and lighten the mood, except that Alan didn't watch the final episode of WandaVision. It's just ridiculous, sir. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of your ancestors.
Dude, I've been trying. Work has been so crazy.
No, dude, you're right there at a release. I get it.
Yeah.
You're right there at a release. I get it.
Code Freezers today, so I'll have time to watch it tomorrow or later tonight, actually.
Nice. It's a good episode. Like I was saying in the break, and this isn't spoilers, but there were people who online were like, thought it was a great episode. There were people who were like, oh, I expected so much more because they, some of the stuff they teased happens. Yeah. So some of the stuff they teased happened. Some of the stuff they teased didn't happen. I think with the end of this episode, with the end of this series, what I can say is that this was not meant to kick off phase 4, and it has.
Wait, say that part again.
So phase 4 of the MCU. So the last movie that came out was Far From Home, Spider-Man Far From Home, right?
Yes.
And then we got into 2020, and of course I think we were supposed to have Black Widow and I think the Eternals, maybe something else. And this
Shang-Chi.
is
Spider-Man 4.
Well, Spider-Man 4 is supposed to come out. That's supposed to come out in a couple years. But still, it wasn't. WandaVision was not supposed to be that kicked off phase 4.
Okay.
We were supposed to have other cinematic releases. And I think that, and yeah, they totally trolled us with some of the stuff. But I think the reason that people are kind of taking it hard or being like, well, this plot line didn't, I thought there would have been much more in this plot line, or you teased this character, teased that character, and they didn't come to fruition. And
well, I wonder if that if okay, so not being supposed to kick it off, but this was supposed to come out last year, though, wasn't it?
No, this is supposed to come out. No, this is supposed to come out now. If anything, it was delayed by just a few months. Whereas Black Widow was supposed to kick everything off.
Black Widow was supposed to come out like 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
No, it was supposed to come out. It would have come out last. November, either December? April or May. Yeah, April or May. Okay. April or May of 20 to kick off kind of like the summer blockbuster, but everything got pushed back because of the pandemic.
I have 2 questions about WandaVision. One of them you probably won't answer. Does it leave it open for a season 2?
Technically, it does.
Technically, it does, but I think it is going to leave it open for a movie.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, go ahead.
My second question is: does it close loops, or does it now leave more loops open?
Both.
Yeah. The main story that we've been following gets closed.
Okay.
Other stuff that happens leaves room for more things to happen within the MCU, just like any good MCU movie did, where you would see the end of something and then it's like, oh well, this other thing happens. I will say this, since you haven't watched it, there are 2 scenes after the credits.
Okay.
So there's a mid-credit scene and there's a scene at the very end.
Scott, did you watch both credits?
I did not see both credits.
There were 2?
There were 2.
One.
JT, you too?
No,
you should be ashamed of yourselves. You call yourself WandaVision fanatics.
No, there is a.
I didn't say I was a WandaVision. I'm just watching it because y'all told me to watch it.
Because we were making you.
Yeah.
Have you not liked it, JT?
Honestly, I'm more of a comic book fan, so part of it has been okay, But like me and Pietro, the fake Pietro, yeah, I've been disappointed about that for sure. Because again, I thought it would allude to more stuff, but it was basically its own encapsulated story, essentially. Now, what comes after, we'll see. It may change my thoughts on the series, but so far it's been kind of meh to me.
I will say at the beginning of WandaVision, like the first episode, I was like, what is this? Like, what is going on? I didn't understand until you start seeing like stuff happening and you're like, oh, it's not like I Love Lucy. Okay. Because it was very I Love Lucy in the beginning. And I was like, how is this like a great show? Yeah. I was like, what is this? Like Andy Griffith show. Like, what is going on with this? Who's watching this? Yeah. But then after I was like,
oh, I saw both scenes. Okay. I got you.
Okay. I'll watch it so we can talk about it next week.
Cool. All right, Scott, can you hit us up with a question of the week?
Questions. Don't we have them all? Who wants to bring us in?
All right. So, Wheel of Questions. This is that famous time again, guys and gals. If you have a question for the wheel, feel free to email us at theweekenda2z@gmail.com. You can also leave a question or leave your question on our YouTube page.
Yep, just give us just put your question in the comment of our any of our videos, and we will get it and we will put it on the wheel
after we vet it.
Of course.
Yes. I like little startup sound.
Ooh, this is a tough one. So, what is your favorite movie genre from Jorge Miave?
All right.
I heard totally read that as York. He's European.
Or as white people would say it, George Meavy. Miav.
Meavy.
What is your favorite movie? Sorry, Ace.
I would say comedy, man. It's pretty easy for me.
Action.
Yeah,
like Six Underground was awesome.
I still haven't watched that yet.
Oh my gosh, just the amount of
was Six Underground.
That's the one with Ryan Reynolds.
Okay,
it's on Netflix. I think, right?
No,
Shannon and I watched it, and I mean, I was like, "Oh my god, did you see what happened to that guy?" And she's like, "I can't watch this. This is too much for me."
Okay, I want to come back to that.
Gratuitous violence with bodies being just crushed by cars and whatnot. I was like, dude,
but not in a comedic way like Deadpool.
It was comedic to me. It was awesome.
Wow. They're learning a little bit about Alan tonight.
I was like, man, that they bumped over the dude when they ran him over.
Let's see. For me, I don't know. I think I love superhero movies.
Yeah.
MCU stuff and like that. But I think I would have to say my favorite is fantasy movies. Like
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Wait, has Dune come out yet?
Dune has not come out yet.
Brazzers.com.
Nope, not that kind of movie.
Not that kind of fantasy.
Not that kind of fantasy. No. Like old 80s fantasy, like Legend, like the one where it was Tom Cruise and Tim Curry played the son of the devil. And
the never-ending story.
Never-ending story. I love the never-ending story. Princess Bride.
Yeah, Princess Bride. Yeah.
I love Princess.
I need to watch that.
Who doesn't like that movie?
And then you get, and then you Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I grew up with. And then you got into like, once
Dark
you got
Crystal.
into like Dark Crystal was great. Yeah. But then you got into once you got into more recent times with like The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogies and stuff.
I really liked those movies.
I'd love to see another good fantasy movie.
Okay.
Like, I would love to see one of those. And then I also, I really like sci-fi stuff as well.
Ooh. Also, one of my favorite series recently is the John Wick series.
Oh, John Wick was...
It's just like no nonsense, right?
See, amazing. But again, that is like gratuitous violence. The amount of bodies that are like, where are these guys coming from? Like, how are there so many dudes just like pouring into like this pit of death? But...
Okay, so speaking of sort of like I told y'all that I just finished Star Wars Rebels, an animated series. It's only 4 seasons, and they're talking about like the whole time they're like, we're Jedi. We need to take care of our people, and people are dying or they're getting hurt, because of the Empire. But like literally they're destroying Star Destroyers, which hundreds, if not thousands of people on these destroyers. They just blow them up. And it's just like, but because
those guys.
And some of the storylines, they're training with some of these troopers, they're just kids. And I'm like, okay, y'all are just like super hypocritical.
Yeah.
Younglings, Anakin. Younglings.
All right.
Scott,
so
what do you got?
Scott?
So we got action, we got comedy, we got mystery,
drama, thrillers, horror movies.
No. Man, that's a tough one. I've got 3, and I don't know. Comedies, horror movies, and horror, brazzers.com, and action. So I will try to make it to the theater on just about everything, but like most definitely. Does Avengers count as action? That would be action, right?
Yeah,
Action,
it's a superhero movie, but yeah, I mean, I would say that Avengers would be more of an action movie.
I guess action is where it's at for me. So.
If I had to choose a favorite, it would be action. But I mean, I like thrillers. I like dramas. I like
We said
the psychological thrills where you have to
Okay, so
like Memento,
said
or
if you flip it, like for me, I don't like realistic horror movies.
no,
You know, like
exorcism movies. No.
yeah, or
Saw
like anything that's
stuff
just
like that.
gory. Yeah, like Saw to be gory. Like,
Saw was just gross at some point. At a certain point, it was just like, all right, I get it, but
No, I'm not a horror movie fan at all. I've never. Well, I've also I also felt that like a lot of those movies rely on jump scares,
yep.
and to me, jump scares are cheap. It's not a
Yeah.
it's a visceral reaction that is, you know, that you try to avoid in your day-to-day life, and it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to pay money to experience that. I feel the same way about haunted houses. It's like I've gone through haunted houses. I'm not terrified of them, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to pay $20 for someone just to jump out at me. You know,
Yeah,
if you're gonna scare me, like, scare me for real.
yeah.
Yeah, like
For
I
real?
go to those all the time with the twins, but it's like to me, it's just like I know it's fake,
Yeah.
and then most of the time the actors aren't allowed to touch me, so it's kind of like, okay.
The ones that get me
Yeah.
is like when you go around a corner and you're like expecting somebody to be there, and then nobody's there, and you're like, oh, nobody's there, and then somebody comes out, and you're like, ah! That's what. Those are the jump scares that I like. But in movies, I agree with Justin. They're cheap. Every now and then, I will have this weird, like, I want to watch a scary movie, but I'll watch it like broad daylight, windows open.
See,
No,
my
I'm
wife
serious.
loves
I don't.
scary
You have someone on the phone with you.
Yeah.
At your blink.
Stay on the phone. Don't hang up. Are you still there?
No,
Yeah,
my
no,
wife
so-
loves scary
Yes,
movies.
I'm
My
still
wife
there.
will watch.
I'm
My wife will
upstairs.
binge watch
In the
like
closet.
bad B-rated horror movies, like
Well,
they're
those are
going out
fun
of
to
style.
watch. Yeah.
Yes, yes and
Sharknado.
no.
It's not a horror movie, but it was funny.
Oh,
It was
here's the
so
thing.
bad
There
it's funny. Yeah.
no, well, there is a it's in the horror movie genre, and it's a great movie, and it's so funny because it kind of took all of the tropes of horror movies and turned them on its head. It's called Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Okay.
It's hilarious because it takes these two college kids are going, gonna go stay at a cabin in the woods, blah blah
And
blah
you're
blah
like,
blah.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, and then there's Tucker and Dale, who are like the two hillbillies who are just out trying to go fishing or whatever, and one of the college kids is the murderer, but everybody thinks that it's them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, there's part of it where they're doing work and they have one of those tree shredders,
Oh.
I remember
And-
you showed that
and
to
there's-
us.
and this kid is like, the kid is like, there is running away from, or the kid's trying to attack the hillbilly guy because he thinks he's killing him, and the hillbilly guy like turns and like bends over to do something. The kid jumps to lunge at him and
And lands
throws
in the
himself and throws
into the
himself in the
chipper.
thing, and it's like, and he's like, what the hell are these kids trying to? They're just killing
We're
themselves.
trying to help
around
them.
us. I'm trying to help them, and they keep trying to kill it. He's like, I think it's one of they they think it's a cult of like Heaven's
Personality?
Gate, where they're trying to kill themselves and stuff. It's just funny.
Everybody's got
That's
their
like
feelings.
Shaun of the Dead. That's probably one of
Yeah.
my favorites.
Yeah. I like movies like that where they kind of like poke fun at the stuff.
Yeah.
The last like kind of creepy thriller is actually what it's classified as. It was Sea Fever, and it was on Hulu.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was creepy, and it wasn't it. Most scary movies I feel are very predictable. Like, okay, the guy's gonna come out here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this person's gonna die in this way. Where this Sea Fever was not like that to me, but I liked it. I mean, it's a little slow, but
Well, and the other thing for me is, if you take everything that a horror movie is and you change them from monsters to aliens and you put it in space, I'm all about it. Aliens is a horror movie.
Yes.
I love that movie. It's so great. I could watch it all the time. But
Predator's the same way. Yeah. All the
It's-
time.
but again, if you make them aliens, I'm fine with it. If you make them gory monsters or whatever, I'm out.
Yeah.
Especially because it was like, I grew up in the 80s, so it was like Friday the 13th and, Halloween and, Nightmare
Freddy
on Elm
Krueger,
Street.
yeah.
Yeah. Nightmare and all that stuff. And it was like, it was just too much after a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is probably a good place to wrap up. Alan, take us out.
So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us at theweekenda2z@gmail.com. You can also find us on the World Wide Web on the line at A to Z Weekend with Facebook and Instagram. Past that, anchor.fm/A to Z Weekend, where you will find all 11 locations for our podcast.
All right, guys, we will see you on the flip-flop.
Catch you later.
Pow, pow.
Olive juice.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.